Good morning. We welcome our international viewers to this Monday edition of CNN Morning News. I'm Bob Kane, in today for Leon Harris.
Good morning. I'm Donna Kelly. From across Israel and around the world, they came today to pay final respects to Yitzhak Rabin, the assassinated Israeli prime minister. They gathered on a Jerusalem hilltop to honor the warrior turned peacemaker who was gunned down on Saturday. In Tel Aviv, the accused assassin, law student Yigal Amir, appeared in court. Amir accused Mr. Rabin of creating a Palestinian state, and he said, "I acted alone, but maybe with God." CNN World Affairs correspondent Ralph Begleiter covered the funeral today at Mount Herzl National Cemetery, and he joins us now from Jerusalem. Ralph?
Donna, it is sunset now here in Jerusalem, and in the fading light of day on the Jerusalem hillside to which you just referred, the people of Israel, and in many ways more than ever before, the people of the world, bid farewell to an Israeli prime minister, Yitzhak Rabin. It was the prime minister's casket was lowered gently into the ground atop the hillside. He was surrounded by his military aides, representatives of all the military forces whom he has led over the decades of Israel's existence here in the Middle East. Eventually, he was surrounded also by members of his family, and although this was an international event, it was his granddaughter who made it as well a very personal one.
We always wake up from a nightmare. But now, I wake up to a nightmare. The television does not stop transmitting your pictures, and you are so alive that I can almost touch you. Grandfather, you were the pillar of fire before the camp, and now the camp is in darkness and sadness. I know that people speak in terms of national disaster, but how can you console a whole nation when Grandma does not stop weeping and we only feel the lack of you? Few knew you indeed, though many will speak of you, and I feel that they know nothing of you. And this is indeed a deep destruction. We, the family that stayed behind in the camp without the pillar of fire. Grandfather, you were and still are our own private hero, and I want you to know that everything I ever did for you and ever did was for you.
Leah Rabin, the prime minister's widow, found herself surrounded not only by her family, but a much wider family of world leaders. In fact, at one point, Jordan's King Hussein referred to Leah Rabin as his sister. In addition to the Jordanian king, also here in Jerusalem for the ceremony, for the burial of the Israeli prime minister, former U.S. President Jimmy Carter, former U.S. President George Bush, Hosni Mubarak, the president of Egypt, the Prime Minister of Russia, Viktor Chernomyrdin, German Chancellor Helmut Kohl, the Prince of Wales, and many, many other world leaders who had come here. Included among them were representatives of nations in the Persian Gulf who had not previously been to Jerusalem or been to Israel. These are nations that still do not, to this very moment, have relations with Israel. Among those who were not at the funeral were representatives from Syria. But the Syrian government issued a statement today on the day of Rabin's funeral calling on Israel to move ahead toward negotiations with peace, for peace with its only remaining neighbor, which has not yet negotiated an agreement, Syria, and then subsequently Lebanon. Let's listen for a moment to what some of the world's leaders said about Yitzhak Rabin.
The dummy bullet which killed you was not able, nor will it be able, to extinguish your ideas and ideas. You didn't leave a will and testament, but you left us with a command to continue for peace. These are tears of unity which shall serve to eternalize the peace with our neighbors. I see our neighbors, the Arabs, and I wish to say to them that the peace is irreversible, not here and not with you. And we are unable to stop or hesitate or hold back. It will encompass us and our women and children.
We must therefore redouble our efforts and reaffirm our obligation to continue the sacred mission to achieve a just and lasting peace. We must deprive those treacherous hands hostile towards our goal from reaping the rewards of their vile actions. Only through our unwavering commitment to this objective can we truly honor the memory of this fallen hero of peace.
You lived as a soldier, you died as a soldier for peace. And I believe it is time for all of us to come out openly and to speak our peace. Not here today, but for all the times to come. We belong to the camp of peace. We believe in peace. We believe that our one God wishes us to live in peace and wishes peace upon us.
The man who proudly, almost defiantly, claims to have killed Yitzhak Rabin on Saturday night at a rally in Tel Aviv appeared in court in Tel Aviv today. We'll have his story in just a moment when we come back.
A bowling ball, a pineapple, a birthday cake, a Nokia cellular phone. One of these objects would make it easier for me to juggle my schedule.
He's a juggler. You're not. Pick up a Nokia cellular phone to help you juggle your schedule. Nokia, largest European cellular phone manufacturer, now in America.
At Howard Johnson Hotels, frequent guests earn great awards like free flights on Continental Airlines and free vacations at any Howard Johnson. We'll even give you a certificate for up to $75 off your next Continental flight each time you stay. So call Howard Johnson at 1-800-I-GO-HOJO.
You worry? You're overprotective? You're a parent. Isn't it nice to know that there's something almost effortless you can do to protect your family even more? Just ask your State Farm agent for a free family insurance checkup. It's a smart way for you to decide if your family's insurance coverage is up to date, so they'll be better protected. And maybe you'll worry a little less.
State Farm is there.
Man, you okay? I don't think I can drive. I think there might be some ligament damage. Oh, come on, quit being a crybaby. All right, relax. Look, I'm not a crybaby. You have any CDs? In the glove compartment. Hey, come on, would you move your foot out of my face? Oh, come on. If I could move my foot, I'd be driving. Man, I didn't even know you were in the game until you fell down and you start screaming, "Oh, my leg, please! Oh, my leg!" Gene, you just passed my house. And lovely house it is. Oh, nice neighborhood, too. I'm glad you guys think this is funny.
It will take some time before the emotions of Yitzhak Rabin's burial fade into history here in the Middle East, but already the legal process is underway for the man who claims to have killed Rabin at the rally on Saturday night in Tel Aviv. CNN's Brent Sadler has the story.
Daybreak and an endless stream of Israeli mourners paid their last respects to Yitzhak Rabin. A few seconds to reflect on the soldier politician's past, to ponder what he might have achieved in the future. It had been like this all through the night, wave upon wave of mourners, countless tens of thousands of people shuffling past the flag-draped casket. Most people appeared to be stunned when they finally caught sight of it after hours of waiting. Expressions were transfixed. An overwhelming sense of disbelief fell upon them.
We knew that there was no way that someone would, a Jew wouldn't kill a Jew because of a political argument.
That opinion has been proved tragically wrong. World attention is being focused on the dignity of a state funeral with all its symbolic magnitude. But there was on this day another significant, if unsavory, parallel event for Israelis. The preliminary appearance in court of Yigal Amir, the 25-year-old Israeli who was captured by police immediately after the shooting and who claims to be the lone assassin. Israelis already know much about this man. The same Yigal Amir who was heckling Mr. Rabin during a public appearance only 2 months ago. The same man who slipped through Mr. Rabin's security net with apparent ease and who police are as yet unconvinced that he acted alone.
They will find out what exactly motivated him, but he did not hide anything. I mean, he said that I understood that Rabin betrayed his country and I decided to take his life.
After his arrest, Yigal Amir admitted that he'd been stalking the Prime Minister, had twice planned to kill him, and would have shot Shimon Peres if the two leaders had left the Tel Aviv peace rally together. He displayed yet another sign of public disturbance 3.5 months ago. Yigal Amir dragged away by police from a Jewish settlers' encampment on a disputed hilltop. The plan to exchange land for peace with the Palestinians far from his agenda. The assassination has struck at the heart of Jewish fears about security, and it's unnerved those Palestinians who are committed to the peace process. The question which now looms is whether Shimon Peres, the acting Prime Minister, can pick up the pieces, restore confidence, and carry on the peace mission alone. Brent Sadler, CNN, Jerusalem.
Security officials here in Jerusalem and in Tel Aviv have already begun questioning one another, trying to determine how it might be possible that such an event could have happened at the rally in Tel Aviv. Those questions will take a long time to answer. Beyond that, Israel is beginning to question itself as a result of Yitzhak Rabin's funeral, questioning where to go next, not only with its neighbors, the Arabs, but also with its own political disputes within its nation. Donna, back to you.
Ralph Beglater, our CNN World Affairs correspondent in Jerusalem, thank you very much. And our CNN Morning News continues in a minute, and we'll talk with a man who knew Yitzhak Rabin very well.
Now you can watch the news the world watches. Worldview, the global newscast, weeknights, 6 Eastern on CNN.
CNN is challenging students across the U.S. We want to see if today's teens have what it takes to become video journalists. The CNN VJ Challenge, sponsored by Panasonic. Make a news video, and you could make $1,000. If you win, we'll also outfit your school with some killer video equipment from Panasonic. And if you're really good, we'll put you on TV. You might even be seen by some very powerful and important people. Hey, it could happen. Talk to your teacher about participating in the CNN VJ Challenge, sponsored by Panasonic.
If you're over 50, you can get needed life insurance protection from Colonial Penn. It's only $6.95 per unit per month. Benefits won't decrease simply because you grow older, and your rates won't increase. If you're over 50, you cannot be turned down. So call now.
Call toll-free 1-800-257-1257. We'll send detailed information and this guide to Social Security absolutely free. Call 1-800-257-1257. There's no obligation. 1-800-257-1257.
Moneyline with Lou Dobbs. Weeknights, 7 Eastern on CNN.
It is 28 minutes before the hour, and Wall Street has just begun its work week.
Kitty Pilgrim is joining us with our financial news this morning from our business news desk in New York. Kitty?
Thanks, Donna. Bob, well, there's another deal in the banking industry. Minneapolis's First Bank System is buying Los Angeles-based First Interstate Bancorp for more than $10 billion in stock, a price that tops Wells Fargo's offer for First Interstate. Now, First Interstate holders will receive stock valued at more than $132 a share, and the combined bank would be the nation's 9th largest. Japan's Daiwa Bank may emerge from a $1 billion trading scandal as part of this biggest bank in the world. It reportedly is in merger talks with rival Sumitomo Bank, and the deal would create a bank with $620 billion in assets. The Federal Reserve last week kicked Daiwa out of the United States for illegally hiding more than $1 billion in trading losses. And another huge deal just announced. International Paper has agreed to acquire Federal Paper Board for $3.5 billion. Trading is just getting underway on Wall Street. Checking the blue chips starting out the week. The Dow Industrials down 3 points. Now the Dow last week rallied nearly 84 points, ending at a record amid rising optimism that a slowing economy will lead to a cut in interest rates. That's the latest in business. I'm Kitty Pilgrim at the CNN Business News Desk. Now back to Donna and Bob in Atlanta.
Kitty, thank you.
We will, as morning news continues, bring you shortly more coverage from Jerusalem.
No, look, the meeting starts at 2. That means we gotta be in Toledo by 1:45.
Well, look, we're not gonna make it.
Hold on, you turn here, it takes us right into Toledo.
My man Jim, saving the day.
You're sure this is right?
Oh, yeah, I go this way all the time.
Traveling's an adventure. Where you stay shouldn't be. Fairfield Inn by Marriott.
Though our name is little known, we speak to all America. From the simple pager to new two-way pagers, and soon, even pagers that speak. Affordable technology keeping America in touch. We're PageNet, the world's largest paging company. PageNet, in touch and ingenious.
So Janie was playing a molecule in the school play, and I start coughing. Everyone's staring. Fortunately, somebody handed me these cough drops, Robitussin. I didn't even know they made cough drops. Well, they worked on my cough right away, soothed my throat, and I could feel those vapors. I'm glad Robitussin took the spotlight off me and put it where it belonged.
Robitussin cough drops from the cough experts. And try Robitussin Liquid Center cough drops with a soothing liquid center.
President Clinton urged Israelis today to stay the course of peace, and he promised, "Never will America forsake you." Mr. Clinton was one of several heads of state who spoke at services for Israel's assassinated Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. CNN's senior White House correspondent Wolf Blitzer is covering the story, and he joins us now from Jerusalem. Wolf?
President Clinton came to Israel and he offered the Israelis several messages. One message from the American people. He spoke from people to people, urging Israel to stay calm and to understand that the United States supports Israel during this difficult moment. He also spoke as the government leader, speaking to the Israeli government, urging the Israeli government to pursue the policies that the late Israeli Prime Minister, Mr. Rabin, brought to Israel. He also spoke man to man. He wanted to underscore his personal admiration for Prime Minister Rabin. He also wanted to underscore his love for Prime Minister Rabin. And once again, you could tell he was holding back the tears. Overall, though, the president in his remarks had this message for Israel.
Now it falls to all of us who love peace and all of us who loved him to carry on the struggle to which he gave life and for which he gave his life. He cleared the path, and his spirit continues to light the way. His spirit lives on in the growing peace between Israel and her neighbors. It lives in the eyes of the children, the Jewish and the Arab children, who are leaving behind a past of fear for a future of hope. It lives on in the promise of true security. So let me say to the people of Israel, even in your hour of darkness, his spirit lives on, and so you must not lose your spirit.
The president was joined by First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton. He was also joined by former Presidents Carter and Bush. several former secretaries of state, as well as an enormous bipartisan congressional delegation, including the House Speaker Newt Gingrich and the Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole. The President is now going to undertake a series of bilateral meetings with Middle Eastern leaders, including Jordan's King Hussein and Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak. He will meet with the acting Israeli Prime Minister Shimon Peres, as well as with Israel's President Ezer Weitzman. Finally, he'll have a brief meeting with the opposition leader in Israel's Knesset, Israel's parliament, Benjamin Netanyahu. U.S. officials say his message will be clear throughout all of these meetings, namely this, that the United States will support the peace process, the U.S. will support Israel, and the U.S. hopes that Rabin's legacy, namely the sacrifices for peace, will continue. Bob?
Wolf, what is the status of life in Israel today? I mean, today specifically, are government offices open? Are businesses?
Everything seems to be closed here in Jerusalem. Traffic has virtually come to a still. There are some cars that are managing to get through, but most of the streets around the cemetery, around the Knesset, have been closed down. A lot of people are walking. It's very quiet in the hills of Jerusalem right now because so many people were participating, were observing, were expressing their condolences to the Rabin family in the aftermath of this tragedy. But it is not a normal day by any means here in Israel. And over the past 24 hours, 1 million Israelis walked past the coffin in front of the Knesset to underscore their grief at this very, very difficult moment.
Wolf Blitzer reporting to us live from Jerusalem. Former U.S. President Ronald Reagan and his wife Nancy are not able to attend Mr. Rabin's funeral. Former Secretary of State George Shultz is representing them today in Jerusalem. The Reagans did issue this statement: "We are shocked and deeply saddened by the senseless and violent death of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. We pray that the Prime Minister's efforts for peace will be continued and that the people of Israel will stand united in this time of tragedy. Our deepest sympathies to his wife Leah and his family."
And on this momentous day of Yitzhak Rabin's funeral, we take a look back with Abba Eban, who served as Foreign Minister of Israel from the mid-60s to the mid-70s. He also was Deputy Prime Minister in 1963 and Israeli Ambassador to the United States. And while he was Foreign Minister, Mr. Eban recommended Yitzhak Rabin for the post of Ambassador to the United States. He was approved unanimously by the Israeli cabinet. Abba Eban is in our New York studios this morning. Good morning, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you for coming in.
Good morning, Donna.
As we look back, let's get to know Yitzhak Rabin a little bit better since you knew him so well. I've heard it mentioned that he was like the little cactus that was prickly on the outside but sweet on the inside.
Well, I think that's a very good description. He was a man of minimal words. His moods were laconic. He very rarely spoke his mind. Actually, his intellectual range was much greater than his capacity of expression. And he struggled all his life against the inhibitions that he imposed upon himself. But fundamentally, he was a man of deep emotions, and the emotion which dominated him in the later part of his life was the conception of peace. He believed that peace for Israel, which would involve concessions, was much more important and much more worthwhile than ruling over 2 million dissident, rebellious Palestinian Arabs.
What changed his idea there, though? What changed him from, as people have said, from a warrior to a peacemaker?
Well, I think he made an analysis of the position when he became Prime Minister again after the 1992 election. He had the habit of sitting down, usually with himself, and analyzing positions. He had an analytical approach. And his analysis told him that it was impossible in the modern world to move against the spirit and the impulse of the modern age and to maintain a kind of semi-colonial rule over 2 million members of a nation whose faith was not our faith and whose tongue was not our tongue and whose national sentiment was not our national sentiment. And therefore, he went back, I think, to the origins of our statehood. The original vision of Israel in 1948, as promulgated by David Ben-Gurion, was that the Israeli and the Palestinian Arab people would share territory and share authority in the area between the River Jordan and the Mediterranean Sea. And back he went to the doctrine of the Founding Fathers, and in a condition in which, for the first time, there were movements in the Arab world which reciprocated to his own feelings, because the Arab world was alive with new ideas, with a new fatalistic understanding that Israel was not destructible. and therefore Egypt had made peace, and Jordan was willing to make peace, and above everything else, our Palestinian neighbors were willing to find a negotiated settlement, and North Africa, Morocco was willing to have diplomatic relations. In the Gulf, there were countries which were willing to make transactions with Israel, and in that new Middle East, he thought that Israel should seize the moment and reach peaceful settlements. And now we do have peace with Egypt, peace with Jordan. We have a contractual relationship with the Palestinians. We have diplomatic relations with some Arab states, and others are still to come.
And as people, though, mourn his death, they wonder where, as you say, still to come, where the peace process does go from here. Ambassador Samuel Lewis was on this morning, and he was saying that it may be an irony that the assassin, instead of stopping the peace process, may actually, he said, propel it forward. Do you agree?
Oh, yes, I think Sam Lewis is right on this matter. I believe that first of all, this effect of this massive demonstration of international support, the fact that the heads of the government in the United States and in Egypt and in Jordan, and as we know in the Palestinian mainstream movement, that they are all in favor of giving new impetus, new momentum. I think that irony, I think there's much more paradox than logic in history, and this terrible criminal assassination might have the opposite effect to that which the perpetrator ever dreamed.
Shimon Peres, a test for him now as well as the country, I was reading this morning. He said this morning at the funeral that the peace is irreversible. What do you see as he will be able to carry on the peace process?
Well, first of all, we must understand that one of the things which would have given Yitzhak Rabin great comfort was the knowledge that his partner in the peace process was determined to carry on the work, and that there is no danger whatever that the peace process will lose its momentum. And I think he would have told everybody, if only he could speak, that Shimon Peres can be relied upon, because Israeli security has been the central theme of Shimon Peres' efforts, the effort on behalf of which he established our arms industry, and he got an agreement with France when the United States was temporarily alienated from giving us arms.
How will he conduct it differently, though, than Mr. Rabin might have?
Well, all leaders have their own style, they have their own way of expressing themselves, and I don't think anything should be read into the fact that he has a different temperament and a different kind of rhetoric. But basically, he and Shimon Peres, despite all their previous differences, achieved an extraordinary harmony on behalf of the analysis to which I've referred, that there is now an opportunity, an Arab opportunity for peace that didn't exist before, and therefore Israel had the choice to carry on with the rather squalid necessities of ruling a foreign people, or liberating ourselves, separating into areas of jurisdiction under which there could be harmony between two national movements.
Our thanks to you this morning, Ambassador Abba Eban, who is the former Israeli foreign minister. Sure appreciate you coming in to talk with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
A quick break here, and more of our CNN Morning News right after this.
Now you can give the steel doors in your home the rich look of wood with Czar wood stains and finishes.
Czar does more than it ever could, 'cause Czar is good for more than just wood.
Wipe Czar on a steel door, then use a graining tool to create a natural wood finish. Wipe on a second coat and it really starts to look like wood. Then protect the finish with Czar polyurethane. Give your steel doors a rich look of wood. Use Czar wood stains and finishes.
Czar is good for more than just wood. Czar.
She's a strong person, someone who can smile through most anything. But sometimes you just can't close your eyes to the aches anymore. When the pain outlasts the Tylenol and you've tried Advil, you try your doctor, see what she recommends. She said take a leave every 8 to 12 hours.
A fast-acting form of the medicine in Naprosyn.
A top prescription brand. At the end of the day, a leaf's stronger relief than a dose of Advil, longer lasting than extra strength Tylenol. She's tougher than I'll ever be.
Women usually are.
Aleve, all day strong, all day long.
5 years ago, did you imagine we'd be doing this one day?
How could I? It took you 3 weeks to call me back.
It was a test. We'd like to get married.
How did I do?
proven group long-term disability package, call your broker or the Fortis Castle. To better manage disability costs, call your broker or the Fortis Castle. Fortis, solid answers for a changing world.
When I had cancer, it was as though my life had been suspended. A major fear in life had become reality. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, I received individualized medical care. I was able to participate in decision-making regarding my treatment. For me, the emotional and spiritual support were very helpful. I'm so glad that I found Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
The Defense Secretary William Perry is part of the U.S. delegation in Jerusalem today. Following Yitzhak Rabin's funeral, Secretary Perry will head to Germany and Belgium. In Brussels, he will meet with Russian Defense Minister Pavel Grachev, and the two will continue negotiations on whether Russian troops will be part of the NATO force on standby for a peace mission in Bosnia-Herzegovina. In Germany, Secretary Perry will visit U.S. troops training for possible peace enforcement duty in Bosnia.
Serb President Slobodan Milosevic reportedly feels against the wall at the Balkans peace talks in the United States. Milosevic said to be irritated about being asked to make concessions he doesn't want to make. Says he was misled about the nature of the talks. Officials there want Milosevic to sever ties with Bosnian Serb leader Radovan Karadzic and formally recognize Bosnia and Croatia. The talks at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base near Dayton, Ohio are expected to last at least 2 more weeks. A pocket of land in Croatia is one huge impediment to genuine peace in the Balkans. Rebel Serbs have rejected new proposals to give eastern Slavonia back to Croatia. Eastern Slavonia is the last area of Croatia still under Serb control after Croatian troops reclaimed other regions in fighting over recent months. Serb troops took over that land after Croatia seceded from then Yugoslavia 4 years ago. And Croatia's president is threatening to fight for it if the area is not returned by the end of this month.
Edward Shevardnadze attended Mr. Rabin's funeral as the head of state of the Georgian Republic. Before flying to Israel this morning, Shevardnadze all but claimed victory in Georgia's presidential election. Election officials say early returns show that he is taking up to 70% of the vote. Georgia won independence from the Soviet Union back in 1991, and Shevardnadze has been Georgia's leader since 1992, but without the title of president.
In Poland, President-elect Wałęsa is headed for a runoff against a skilled young politician with a communist past. Wałęsa won about a third of the vote in Poland's second democratic presidential elections, but so did challenger Aleksander Kwaśniewski. Both are trying to attract Poland's political center as they approach the runoff November 19th. The 41-year-old Kwaśniewski heads a party that formed after the communists dissolved their organization in 1990.
Still ahead for you on our CNN Morning News. Among the surprises in the NFL over the weekend, the defending Super Bowl champs, the San Francisco 49ers.
Not what you'd expect performance against expansion Carolina. Mark McKay will have details.
Kodak has a new focus. The photography giant is going back to what it does best, pictures.
Half the people in the world have never taken a picture.
Kodak is selling off everything from pharmaceuticals to floor wax. It joins the list of corporations dropping businesses that were picked up in the takeover spree of the 80s.
The opportunities in imaging are so enormous that in order to capitalize on them, we really need to focus on a narrower range of businesses.
A company building on past success to create images made for tomorrow. This moment is brought to you by the National Association of Manufacturers, celebrating 100 years of manufacturing excellence.
We put these glass walls on the course at Road Atlanta to demonstrate the wet traction and performance of the Goodyear Eagle Aqua Tread. Racing-inspired dual aqua channels sweep water away for outstanding wet traction. Broad shoulders add aggressive grip for precise cornering. Its unique tread compound helps you stick to the road. You get the performance of an Eagle, the wet traction of an Aqua Tread. Eagle Aqua Tread, only from Goodyear.
Probably don't want to do what the 49ers did over the weekend, do you?
No, you don't want to lose to a team nicknamed the Panthers, that's for sure. NFL history, Bob and Donna, made in San Francisco's 3Com Park. It wasn't a momentous occasion that the Niners would like to remember for decades to come. San Francisco, the first defending Super Bowl champion to be shocked by an expansion team. The Carolina Panthers took advantage of Steve Young's continued absence as San Francisco starting quarterback Elvis Grbac got the start again. And wouldn't you know it, former Niner Tim McKyer would pick Elvis off and rambled 96 yards for the score. It's a quick 10-0 Carolina lead. The Niners were their worst enemies at times. Jerry Rice going for the touchdown. The ball's knocked loose. Carolina ball. John Taylor, after a 40-yard gain, loses the football. Niners have one shot. Kerry Cortland lets it go, but the pass is incomplete, and Carolina wins its fourth in a row while the Niners are reeling, and Dallas is waiting on the doorstep. The Baltimore Browns, it does have a certain ring to it, and before this day is out, it may be more than just a catchy nickname. A lunchtime news conference is scheduled in Baltimore, where it's expected the Browns' long-rumored move will be made official. Yesterday, for the first time in his 35 years of owning the team, Art Modell was a no-show for perhaps the Cleveland Browns' last game at the stadium. To say this team was distracted going into their matchup with visiting Houston would be an understatement. Eric Zier picked off by Blaine Bishop. He goes 62 yards for the score. 37-10 as the Oilers win. Cleveland and their fans not letting go of their team without a fight. Here are the Sunday scores. And that's sports for a Monday. Donna, Bob.
Thanks, Mark. And this is Morning News, and we're not finished.
No, we're not. We continue on after we take a weather update and a local cable break. You come back with us.
Now you can watch the news the world watches. Worldview, the global newscast. Weeknights, 6 Eastern on CNN.
He's called the greatest piano player in country music history. Floyd Kramer. Heartland Music presents Floyd Kramer in his brand new collection of all-time classics. Floyd plays 30 of the greatest country songs ever. Songs that will live forever. Floyd brings his special piano magic to every song. 30 classic hits. From beautiful love songs to best loved favorites. All played by the great Floyd Kramer. But remember, this all-new Floyd Kramer collection is not in stores. Please stay tuned to order.
Call 1-800-257-1257 to save all COD charges and pay only $16.98 for records or cassettes or $19.98 for 2 CDs plus $3.50 shipping. Use your credit card or send check or money order to New Floyd Kramer, P.O. Box 2919, Atlanta, Georgia. Remember, save COD charges by sending check or money order or use your credit card.
This is CNN.
Good morning. I'm CNN meteorologist Valerie Voss. Pretty wintry around a lot of the country. There's an area of low pressure that's producing rain and could produce some thunderstorms in sections of the South Plains, the lower Mississippi River Valley, as it then continues to head up to the north and east. A flash flood watch is in effect in eastern Tennessee. Of course, it's been rather wet across that region the last several weeks, and so any more rain could cause some problems. The wintry weather in the northwest is more in the form of snow. In Jackson, Wyoming, several inches have fallen, should be easing up very shortly. But there are winter storm watches and snow advisories in effect in Montana as an area of snow moves out of the Cascades and Olympics and heads that way. A snow advisory still in effect. The northern Oregon Cascades above maybe 3,500, 3,000 feet, more than 8 inches reported at Timberline, Wyoming. A high wind watch along the coast. A fog advisory in effect, not only the valleys of Southern California, but also across much of Texas. Heavy rains possible across an area from Kentucky, Tennessee, south into Louisiana. Lighter amounts down through the southwest. Could be some heavier rains approaching the northwest coast as well. Temperature-wise, pretty wintry across the northwest. Some 80s in the southwest, a couple in South Texas, and some across southern Florida as well. Morning News continues now.
A last procession as a fallen leader is taken to his final resting place. We'll have a live report.
From ashes to ashes, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin is buried in the Jerusalem cemetery that holds some of Israel's most revered heroes.
Then, a last tribute to a soldier. Hello, this is CNN Morning News, our second hour. I'm Donna Kelly.
I'm Bob Kane, in today for Leon Harris. Welcome to the second hour of CNN Morning News.
Dozens of world leaders gathered in Israel today for a solemn ceremony honoring a peacemaker.
CNN correspondent Ralph Begleiter is in Jerusalem with the story of today's funeral for assassinated Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. Ralph?
Bob, Donna, the world paid tribute to 73-year-old Yitzhak Rabin today as his body was the ground here in Jerusalem at a cemetery site in which, as you said, most of Israel's revered leaders are buried. The ceremony was accompanied by many, many world leaders who came here to Jerusalem to pay their respects to Yitzhak Rabin. But here in Israel, it was something that was a very personal event as well, and it was marked at 2 o'clock in the afternoon here in Israel by the wailing sounds, the sad sounds of sirens across the country. Before the casket was moved from its bier outside the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, up to 1 million Israelis walked up to the casket to pay their own respects, some carrying candles, others reading poetry, some even created songs which they sang before the casket. It was an emotional moment for many Israelis. In fact, many here would say most Israelis as well. The body was then carried from the Knesset in a motorcade up the mountain to the gravesite where there was a 21-gun salute and world leaders spoke to pay their tributes. But again, it was a matter which was more personal than it was international in some respects. The widow of the former Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, Leah Rabin, was greeted by King Hussein of Jordan as his sister. And then another family member took the podium to say goodbye to her grandfather.
Ones greater than I have eulogized you, but none knew the softness of your caress as I. For that half smile of yours that always said everything, the smile that is no longer there. There is no feeling of revenge in me, for the pain does not allow the space. The ground which has been swept out from underneath us will be the base for our recovery. I am unable to complete what that miserable hand has completed for me, and I ask of you that you rest in peace and know and think of us and miss us too. For we below remain constant in our love toward you, and may the God of Israel that keeps over all of us will keep you in the heavens as you merit. I am with you forever.
Many Israelis who had never before imagined that another Israeli might attack their own prime minister are now questioning their own society, questioning the politics, in some cases questioning the fervor of their religious activists, and also there are questions being raised about security here in Israel and about the suspect who claims to have killed Yitzhak Rabin. At the same time, questions are being raised about where the Middle East goes from here. What's going to happen to the peace process, which Rabin brought in the last 4 years to agreements with the Palestinians and agreements and a peace agreement with Jordan? So people are looking around the region to see where does it go next? What will happen to peace between Arabs and Israelis in the wake of Yitzhak Rabin's death? The prompt decisions by Egypt's President Hosni Mubarak and Jordan's King Hussein, among other Arab leaders, to attend Rabin's funeral in Jerusalem reflect a mood among many Arabs to avoid a collapse of the peace process. In one of the last face-to-face meetings with journalists, Rabin told me less than a week ago that he was determined to go ahead with negotiations with Syria, despite their controversy among the Israeli people over return of the Golan Heights. Syrian President Hafez Assad did not send a delegation to Israel for the funeral, but a government newspaper in Damascus announced Syria's intention to persist with the peace process and called on Israel to move quickly despite the Rabin assassination. A very senior Syrian official told me in Damascus just minutes before shots killed Rabin that both Syria and Israel need an agreement, that an agreement with Syria is simple enough to complete in less than 3 months, and that Syria and Israel should not, quote, dwell on history. Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak, representing the first Arab nation to make peace with Israel, told me privately just days before the assassination, Israel should not give Syria any excuse to back away from negotiations. Mubarak said he repeatedly asks Assad not to let an historic opportunity for peace with Israel pass. But the assassination of Rabin, apparently by an extremist, could be interpreted by the Arabs as revealing the depth of opposition to the peace process. That interpretation could put peace talks on hold or set them back, especially on the future of Jerusalem, even more sensitive than the compromises which apparently prompted Rabin's assassination. Arabs and Israelis may reconsider whether they can really begin negotiations about Jerusalem in just 7 months as currently scheduled. Acting Prime Minister Shimon Peres, despite his intentions and hopes, may have a hard sell to convince the Arabs now that he can not only make commitments to peace, but keep them. Among those who attended Yitzhak Rabin's funeral were several representatives of Persian Gulf nations with whom Israel does not yet have fully normal relations. Someone who was not at the funeral was Yasser Arafat, although his Palestinian Authority issued a statement again condemning the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin, but again also reasserting the goal of the Palestinian Authority to have a Palestinian state with Jerusalem, the location of the funeral, as its capital. Donna, Bob?
Ralph, several years ago when I was still on the International Hour, I had the opportunity to talk to Yitzhak Rabin, and in that unmistakable voice I'd been studying for this interview, and I asked him a question, and there was this kind of pause, and he said, well, you know how I feel about that. And I thought, yes, I do, sir, but I need for you to say. And he had that kind of way about him, and now we're finding out that he was so shy and gruff on the outside but sweet on the inside. And you talked to him just recently. What struck you about him?
Well, it's truly remarkable to think that just 5 or 6 days ago, he and I were sitting a few feet apart, and after you go through the formalities of coming into the Prime Minister's office, he invites you to sit down, not across a desk or across a table, but right next to him, knee to knee, if you will. And then he orders a beer, sits down at the table, drinks a beer, starts puffing, chain smoking, as he always does, and answers questions in a very straightforward, give-and-take manner. None of the kind of speech-making formalities that you might expect. Although the positions he takes are very clear and blunt in some cases, he nonetheless comes across as someone who understands what his interlocutor is up to and what the goals of his interlocutor are, and also what the needs in some cases, not only of a journalist, but for example, in the case of King Hussein of Jordan, what the needs of his interlocutor are.
Ralph, we've heard a great deal today about the daunting prospects and tasks that face Shimon Peres now as acting prime minister to carry on the peace process. You know him as well. What do you see as his greatest liability in trying to carry out his task?
Well, he's got several struggles to engage in. One of them is domestically here inside Israel. It is expected that he will be asked by President Ezer Weizmann to form a new government, and the opposition, the political opposition here in Israel, has already announced that it will not oppose whatever government Shimon Peres decides to put up. But Peres is going to face the considerable challenge, before he even gets to the peace process issues, of trying to bring the Israeli people together again and find a way in an election year, which usually serves to increase tensions among political factions, of healing the wounds of this assassination. Then he faces the problem and the very tough decisions immediately of whether to move quickly on the peace process, trying to reach out in some way towards Syria, for example, for an agreement on the Golan Heights, something that Shimon Peres, we all know, actually advocates in some ways even more strongly than Yitzhak Rabin did. So he's got those dual problems to confront right now.
All right, CNN's Ralph Begleiter in Jerusalem. Thank you.
When Morning News continues, a former U.S. Secretary of State during the George Bush years.
We will talk with James Baker, who worked closely with Mr. Rabin early in the peace process. You'll want to stay with us.